Sims Nation, welcome to another episode of the Positively Pat Sims Show. No, as my pastor would say, no better place to be on a Saturday than right here with the greatest Saturday morning pro wrestling show on the planet. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so excited to be here. At least I am. You can feel the excitement in the air. It's growing. It is Wrestlemania season as we gear up to continue the road to Wrestlemania 42. I don't get to watch SmackDown because it's on cable and we don't have cable. But first thing this morning, what do I see? Doc and I talking about the turn of Randy Orton and the beatdown of Cody Rhodes. WrestleMania 42, one of the big matches on the card, starting to really take shape. I got to tell you, that got me super excited to see that one. I'm already ready for Roman and Punk. I'll tell you right now, I'm already ready for that match. I'm ready to go. I'm starting to get excited for this build to WrestleMania. The sun's finally starting to come out here in old Southern California, and so that means it's time to get rolling here. We got 10 more WrestleManias to get through today as we tell you guys what we think makes each WrestleMania worth watching. Last week, we talked about WrestleManias 1 through 10. This week, it's about WrestleManias 11 through 20. And joining me this morning are some very, very special guests. Let's start off with the man on the screen right now, ladies and gentlemen. He is one of the hosts of the Twisted Turnbuckle podcast, who had me on just 2 weeks ago. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chris DiCarlo.
Thank you very much, Pat. Appreciate you having me on. Again, like Benny said last week, this intro for this show is just the best, bar none, and I'm welcome to be here.
Thank you so much. That's great to have you here. And, of course, next up, he is our version of the living legend. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Benny the Jet Scala. Whoops.
Living is always a good thing, so thank you for that phenomenal intro. I appreciate it.
Not a problem, not a problem. And Benny, where can we find you at? I'm wondering.
Oh, you want it? We got it. Tomorrow at 3:00, Benny the Jet.
That's right. WANT Radio. Welcome to all of our WANT listeners, as well as all of our streamers here on YouTube. And don't forget, YouTubers, get on in there into the live chat. Check us out there. You can interact with us in our YouTube live chat and be a part of the show. And if you guys jump in and give us some super chats, we might just hear our next special guest sing us a song. So, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Diamond Standard, the voice of PCW, and a man who is 0 for every time on the squared circle. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the one and only Doc Haywood.
Dr. Haywood is here. The streak continues. Yes, the Diamond Standard here on the Positively Pat Sim Show. And hit that super chat button because I want to sing for you.
That's right. And if we get there, it's going to be a verse and a chorus, maybe even more depending on what he decides to do, of American Pie. I mean, you can't go wrong there, right, guys? Hearing Doc. And Doc shocked us all by singing the last time we did this. And I'm thinking, oh, this will be good. And then Doc sang, and I'm like, crap, it might sound good. But Doc,
hey, I won the karaoke contest at the DDPY retreat. I took the belt off Kid Crazy. I've got pipes, brother.
There you go. Well, guys, don't forget as well. Not only is your boy Positively Pat Sims have a book called Vengeance available now on Amazon. From Kindle, paperback, and hardcover. That's right. Go check it out. Go to Amazon, search up Positively Pat Sims. There it is. Vengeance, baby. Right? But not only that, but ladies and gentlemen, our very own Doc Haywood has a coloring book up and available now. So all you got to do, look up Heroes of Virtue right here. And I'll tell you, look at this. Beautiful. Beautiful stuff, guys. So if this is something that you think you'd like for you or your children, pick this up on Amazon right now. And we'll let Doc plug that and more like we always do later on in the show. But, guys, I think it's time we get into this and we start because it's going to take us a while to get through these 10 WrestleManias, and I don't want to have to rush any of them. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's start off with WrestleMania 11. And WrestleMania 11 is a tough one to start on. There's not a lot of great things that I can say about this WrestleMania. It was our first WrestleMania that would feature a celebrity wrestling in the main event. No big, huge stars. You know, in WWE, I think we could probably say Bam Bam wasn't exactly a main eventer. Not for WWE anyway. But our big match that we'll talk about is lower down in the card. So, Benny, since you're on the screen right now, let's talk to you. Tell me your thoughts on WrestleMania 11 and what makes it worth checking out.
Well, I overall, it's about as compelling as playing hopscotch with Stephen Hawking.
Well
to
said.
Put it in a little bit of perspective.
Yep.
But there really wasn't much. I mean, I would say Pamela Anderson, Jenny McCarthy, that helped. I really, I love Bam Bam. I thought he was a great talent. You're right. He did not hit main event status in WWF.
Right.
But I mean, the guy was, for a guy his size, man, could he move? And I really think, I mean, I only hope he got one hell of a payday to do that job is all I got to say.
I do too, because I tell you what, man, that match is nothing without the effort that Bam Bam put into that thing. And it's funny. I kind of forgot about Pamela and Jenny McCarthy. I felt like Jenny was like kind of at least trying to have fun, but Pamela looked like she would have probably rather been anywhere else.
Yeah,
like it's just like that was not a good look for
Root
right
canal,
there.
Anything but that.
But Benny, you're usually my info guy on this one. Like who I want to say, wasn't Burt Reynolds one of the celebrities on this one?
I don't know if he was. I mean, obviously he was a couple.
Or was he
of them,
10?
I think at least one or two last week. I don't know. I just have the two of them listed as celebrities.
Yeah.
Besides LT as well.
I remember Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and I want to say that's 11. And Nicholas Turturro. I want to say that's 11 as well. So
yeah, no, you got Salt and Pepper,
right?
Also,
right. They were yeah.
You're right. There was Kathy Huey did America the Beautiful. You got Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and you said Nick Turturro.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's his name would have been 10 then. So what's up, Matt, Mr. Marijuana? good to have you on here. Waking and bacon first thing in the morning. Sounds good. All right, let's go over to let's go over to Chris DiCarlo. Sir, give us your impressions of WrestleMania 11. What makes it worth checking out?
Well, actually, I highlighted a couple matches. We saw Owen Hart advertised a mystery partner for his tag team match against the Smoking Guns for the titles.
Yep.
And it turned out to be a big Yokozuna. And, of course, they won the belts from the Smoking Guns on that night. We saw an I Quit match, Bob Backlund against Bret Hart. That was not bad. And, of course, we saw The Undertaker go against King Kong Bundy, surprisingly, and remained undefeated.
That's right. Yeah, the streak continued for the Undertaker and I think a lot of people tend to forget, like the streak has just been it's become this big giant mythos and everything, and yet the Taker did not have a fun start to this streak. I mean, yeah, getting in there with the Superfly was probably pretty cool later in Snuka's career, but Jake was probably a pretty easy night out in the ring. But then you got Giant Gonzalez, you've got King Kong Bundy. I mean, that's a rough couple years for the streak there, because Bundy was well past his prime at this point. He could still click his teeth together like it was nobody's business, but that doesn't make a great match. All right, Doc, let's get your thoughts on WrestleMania 11. What to you makes this one worth checking out?
Well, there was a big reason I wasn't watching WWF during this time. You definitely got to give it to as Chris said, Owen Hart and Yokozuna, especially Owen Hart in this match against the Smoking Guns. Owen really carried the work rate, had great chemistry with everyone he was in the ring with. This kind of highlights why Owen was the MVP of 90s wrestling. Yeah, I think there's a lot of spectacle with the celebrities, and I think that had to do with, okay, we don't have Hulk Hogan anymore. We got to have something big to draw folks in to watch this pay-per-view. But yeah, overall, kind of weak.
Yeah, kind of. The very first match of the night, I remember, like, I don't even remember who the opponents were, but I remember the team up of Lex Luger and the British Bulldog. And it was just, I mean,
it was
not good.
Eli and Jacob Blue with
that's
Uncle Zebekiah.
Nice.
Whoever they are.
Oh, man.
Somewhere in the dustbin of WrestleMania history.
We got a lot of good things here in the chat. So Maddie, Mr. Marijuana, says, I can predict the future because, not because he's Mr. Marijuana, but because he's joining us from Australia. So
wow.
A very, very big welcome and hello across the globe there. So really cool to have you on here. Grandmaster is back with us. So it's always great to have the Grandmaster back into the chat there. Says this was the first Mania they acknowledged Undertaker's streak. It wasn't really known as the streak, but yeah, it was the first time they acknowledged that he hadn't been defeated yet. They didn't really make a big deal about it. I think JR started to on 13, if I remember, then screwed up what his first match was. And then after that, it still kind of laid in the weeds a little bit until we got up near the 20s. I think that's about when we started seeing the WrestleMania 20s, not the streak hitting the 20s. That would be all the way at the end. Brett said that this was his worst pay-per-view match. Yeah, so Seth Sims, yes, Seth Simpson's here. I didn't forget about you. You've just been quiet. But, yeah, Bret Hart facing Bob Backlund in this I Quit match. I mean, the match, to me, isn't the worst match ever. What makes it rough, and I hate to say this, is Piper. If you guys remember, Piper he's screaming the entire match. What do you say? And then he's shoving the mic into their faces. Oh my God, it was grating. It was horrible. And then, but I will say one of the things that it makes this WrestleMania for me worth watching is Shawn Michaels and Diesel. Diesel, not always the best worker in the ring, but you put him in with the right guy, give him the right motivation, and he can do a pretty good job. But this match, even more so than WrestleMania 10's ladder match, showed me that Shawn Michaels really was like the guy in the ring, that he was Mr. WrestleMania and was going to bring it each and every time. And, I mean, he worked his butt off. I think he knew, like, okay, we're not the main event. We got to show these guys up and really show them why we should have been the main event. And they did a great job. And I got to hand Lawrence Taylor a little bit of got to applaud Lawrence a little bit. Obviously, he put a lot of work into getting in there and doing the job and everything. And, you know, I would not ever want to see something like that where the spotlight is put on an NFL. But a lot of things we have to remember is WWE right now is they're kind of a sinking ship at the moment. WCW is starting to really kick in, not to the point that they would in '96, just a couple of years later, but wrestling business is not good right now. The ending of the HBK Diesel match was botched. It was, yeah, there were some little glitches here and there, but overall, I mean, the match was a lot of fun. But yeah, 11 is just not strong. So it's hard to recommend it to anybody when they're like, oh, what WrestleMania should I check out? I don't think anybody starts off by going, you should really look at 11. That's where you should start. Like, no. But I think that there are moments, there are matches that are worth checking out at least, maybe just for morbid curiosity. Like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of, it's like a train wreck. You got to stop and watch. So, all right. Anybody have any final thoughts on WrestleMania 11 before we put this one in our rearview mirror? No? Okay. All right. Perfect. Good.
We want to talk about it as little as possible.
Right. Good. Let's move on. But yes. Oh yeah. But great call, Grandmaster. I almost forgot about that because I was going to mention that. Backlund never said he quit. But Piper said he did. I think, yeah, because if you watch it back, like Piper's like, "Do you quit? Does that you give up? You quit?" And Backlund's just screaming, "Ah, yeah!" And one of those screams ends up sounding like a yeah or a yes or something like that. So Piper calls for the bell. It was, yeah. I think Brett probably was pretty frustrated with that one. But that was like Bob Backlund not trying to be the Bob Backlund that we know from back in the day. This was Bob trying to be the heel, and I don't think it was about the in-ring work nearly as much at this point in his career. All right, let's go on to WrestleMania 12. Let me change the graphic here, and let's get that one up and rolling. There we go, WrestleMania 12, emanating from my neck of the woods here at what used to be called the Arrowhead Pond, now called the Honda Center here down here in Anaheim, just a stone's throw from where the Angels play from Disneyland. It's such a great place to be. But WrestleMania 12, this was an interesting one. The first time we had the 1 hour Iron Man match in WrestleMania, and that meant that 1/3 of the show was one match. And so the card feels much smaller. And even on the releases that came out later, there's elements of there that aren't there. Because someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe WrestleMania 12 featured a segment with the Huckster and the Nacho Man.
Yes, it did. To try and combat the start of the Monday Night Wars, let's say.
Right. Yeah. And that's nowhere to be found. I have never seen it. I can't. WWE doesn't even acknowledge that it exists because WWE has made a point over the years of saying, "Oh, we don't worry about our competition. We just worry about ourselves." But history would prove otherwise on numerous occasions that WWE takes shots all the time at its competition. Heck, they named the $1 Million Man's bodyguard after Dusty Rhodes. I mean, come on, dude. They obviously take shots at the competition. And the Huckster and the Nacho Man and Scheme Gene in those $1 Billion Ted sketches, I mean, I thought they were funny. Don't get me wrong. But come on. I mean, I'm going to ask this. What's the difference between throwing those things out there and mocking WCW the way that they were mocking them with taking in Hogan and Macho Man and all those? What makes that better than some of the stuff that Eric Bischoff did? You know, yeah, maybe it's kind of uncouth to say what the results are going to be on your taped opponent show. But Chris, was the Huckster and Nacho Man not maybe a little below the belt to some of these guys?
Yeah, I mean that was, what by now we know, that was definitely Vince McMahon Jr. all the way, being upset about Hogan and Macho Man jumping ship, if you will.
Benny, what are your thoughts on it?
To me, all is fair in love and war. So whatever, it's all fair game.
Yeah, Doc, how about you?
Well, history is written by the victors, and so WWE's trying to whitewash some of the stains on their record. I I did catch some of those sketches when I was a kid, and I thought they were funny.
Right.
They were poking fun at Hogan and Macho being old, and like I'm older than they were back then right now, and so now maybe I'm like, hey, hold on, they aren't that old. But that was funny stuff, and Scott Hall Razor even carried it over when he interrupted
Right.
Nitro.
Yep.
Where is the Nacho Man? Where is Scheme Gene? I mean,
Yeah.
it was funny stuff. I think WWE needs to embrace their comedic past. They need to stop whitewashing history, stop editing stuff. Give us the business the way it was back then.
Right. I mean, they're not shy about talking about, like what we said, like they're not shy about talking about what Eric Bischoff did.
Definitely not. Like I said, history's written by the victors. So Eric Bischoff and WCW, they were okay, but they did some shady stuff. We were squeaky clean. We were the good guys.
Right. I think, but yeah, WrestleMania 12, interesting time period here. We're almost to the point where the NWO is going to start they're going to form, and I think Hogan's already making waves over in WCW, but here we're getting what was for many of us like the match of matches for this generation, for this era of WWE. Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels. And they really played this up. I like the build for this one. I like the way they played it up. They kind of made Bret almost the underdog here. Shawn was definitely portrayed as the star of this one. But Bret, his training was a lot different. Shawn's was very flashy, very showy. It was kind of like Rocky IV in a sense. Like you look at Shawn, and Shawn's almost, his training is very without the showing the steroids that Rocky IV did. He's training like the Russian. He's got all the equipment and he's doing all the fancy stuff, and then you got Bret, and he's like Stallone. He's out there jogging in the snow, and he's in there getting twisted by his dad in the dungeon and stuff. And I liked it. I enjoyed the build to that. But WrestleMania 12 also features the Hollywood backlot brawl between Goldust and Rowdy Roddy Piper. And that is definitely, for me, a highlight. But I want to start this time with Benny. Benny, I want to hear your thoughts on WrestleMania 12. What are some elements that make it definitely worth watching? And let's hit it. Go ahead. Take it away, sir.
If I was a college professor and somebody handed in WrestleMania 12 as their term paper, I'm going to give it a solid B to a B plus. I loved the Iron Man match.
Yeah.
And what happened afterwards. I enjoyed the backlot brawl. I didn't really enjoy Undertaker versus Diesel. Kevin Nash, like you said, kudos to Shawn Michaels from the previous WrestleMania for carrying him. Kevin Nash had 5 moves, 2 of which were, tossing his hair back and blowing his quads, and then 3 other assorted moves. But and then I guess at that time Triple H was in a doghouse because he did that a minute and a half job to the Warrior, who no-sold his pedigree.
Right. Yep. I remember that. Yeah, that was rough. That was a rough night at work for Triple H. The Undertaker Diesel thing, and I felt Taker at that time was if I remember correctly, he was going through some stuff too at that time. Kevin Nash has talked about that on his podcast and stuff, but Taker, if you look at him, still a big dude. But compared to what he was before and what he would look like after, I mean, he was very small. Like, he looked half the size of Diesel in this one. And when he's going for some of those power moves, he just didn't look like he was able to pull them off as well as he did before. Really quick, I want to jump into the chat because they're going Grandmaster and our buddy Matt, Mr. Marijuana, is going crazy here. So Matty, Mr. Marijuana, told us a joke. So let's get our thoughts from our panel here, if it's funny or not. Said, I bought a Christmas tree today. This is our show. The guy asked if I was going to put it up myself. I said, no, I'll probably put it in the living room. Yep, my wife just got it. There we go.
Wow.
All right. Yes, thank you very much, Matty. Congratulations. Joke of the day right there. Warrior's first match after failing a drug test 4 years prior. Yeah, that's accurate. Yeah. I had to think which firing is this following, and I was like, yes, that would be the steroid one. WrestleMania. Okay, we're not there yet. The Huckster and Nacho Man made everyone watch WCW, like Mankind winning. I don't know if it was everybody though. I don't know if everybody jumped over, but definitely a large amount of people jumped over. It did backfire, absolutely. The Backlot Brawl. Now, I don't know how true this is, but Grandmaster is saying the Hollywood Backlot Brawl, which originally booked as a Razor versus Goldust in a Miami street fight. But how you mean WrestleMania was in California, so we don't have a Miami here. the way that there is a Hollywood, I believe, in Florida. There's actually a few Hollywoods out there, which is weird to think about. But I've never heard that before. So if anybody wants to fact check us on that one, yeah, I'd never heard that because I just don't know unless it was going to be somewhere at a different time, like at a different event. Because yeah, I don't know how you would have a Miami street fight in California, but they geniusly added in the O.J. Simpson Bronco chase. I mean, that was beautiful. I loved that. That was one of my favorite parts of the whole thing. And one of the reasons why, and I've mentioned this before, I don't know if you guys know this. So my dad and I every other weekend would drive up to Malibu because my dad's other son, my half brother, after yet another divorce, his mom lived out in Malibu. And so we would drive out there every other weekend to go pick him up for my dad's weekend with him. And we were driving down the freeway, and the other side of the freeway is completely empty, and we have no idea what's going on. And all of a sudden, there goes OJ, and all the cop cars drive right by us on the freeway. It was amazing. And we're listening to it on the radio, and we're all just like, oh, there they go. Yeah, that was.
You were an eyewitness to OJ.
I was. Every time I see that footage on there, I try to look for my dad's car, because at that time I believe it would have been the Saturn. He had one of those Saturn cars. I think. I don't know. It was a long time ago. I don't remember every detail, but I do. I always look, going, maybe I'm in that shot. Maybe I'm in that shot. But yeah, it was so funny the way they did that. All right, back to this real quick, and then I'll jump to you guys. They changed the match because Razor notified them he was leaving for WCW. I know Razor didn't want to work with Goldust anyway. They were supposed to, I believe, have a match at some point before that, too, and Razor didn't want to work with him. I do remember that. Piper was really supposed to fight OJ. Yeah, I do remember that. Piper, they wanted to set up a match between Piper and OJ. Like, that's insane. Like that reeks of desperation right there. I mean, they did bring in Tyson later, and Tyson wasn't that far removed from some pretty heinous things himself. I had nachos before. It's 10:30 p.m. West Coast, Australia. Okay. Matty, we love you, brother. Don't ever change. The sea was angry that day, my friends. Oh, the geriatric match aired free for all before the pay-per-view started. Oh, okay. So it was a pre-show type of deal. All right, gotcha. All right, thank you, Grandmaster. Thank you for clarifying that. I'm glad we got Piper versus Goldust. So I'll tell you, Piper, Goldust in that Hollywood. I'll take that over the Miami Brawl. I'll take that over any of the other options that were available. All right, Doc, tell me about WrestleMania 12. Your thoughts on what makes this one worth checking out?
Well, definitely that backlot brawl. The build was great. Goldust was shooting some great promos on Piper. I don't think Roddy's ever had a bad match that I've seen, and this was great. I mean, getting hit by the car, that really showed Piper's willingness to do just about anything for the fans. I'm sure he regretted it afterwards. But really, just a lot of fun, that match. That's one that I would tell people go watch. And the Iron Man match, definitely an amazing one. I caught it a couple times on DVDs and clip shows. It's definitely not for the Sesame Street generation with the short attention spans, and definitely, TikTok just throw it out the window.
Right.
But if you've got the attention span to sit through that match, they tell a great story there. Sometimes I wish, hey, would be nice to do an Iron Man match again, but I don't think we'll see something like that ever again.
Yeah, well, especially as my voice cracked, especially the way that they did it. It was I felt it was kind of a callback to old school wrestling in a way. Shawn still had a lot of the flashy, some of the high flying stuff. Brett kept it very grounded, but you're right. The story they told was very, very good. But today's audience, I don't think they would accept no falls for an entire 60 minutes. I don't think they would be able to stomach that. They would start chanting the stupidest stuff. And I think a lot of that's the evolution of wrestling over the years, where it's become more, during the Attitude Era, during ECW's rise and everything, spot fests became what everyone wanted to see. Hit your big moves and go. Right? We don't need 25, 35-minute matches. Just get in there, do your stuff, give us what we want to see, and then get out. So, it was a good match. It really was, and I don't like the hate that it gets anymore. All right, Chris, your turn. Give us your thoughts on WrestleMania 12. What makes it worth checking out?
Yeah, well, as Benny said, my 4 points, we saw a brief couple-month return of the Ultimate Warrior to try and bring some people to watch this pay-per-view.
Right.
As he destroyed Triple H, in short fashion. I think the build-up with Shawn Michaels, he won that Royal Rumble there in Tampa. He was number 1. He ended up winning it, starting to get that push to go into that title picture. And probably, obviously, as we know, Brett would drop the belt to him and also probably start their feud at that time, let's say, because then Brett came back later on in 96.
Yeah.
And then, the Batlock Piper, like Doc said, Benny said, Piper is just always awesome. And I would say, taking that car shot would probably play into when he went into WCW there and showing the hip scar.
Oh, yeah, on the Bill Maher
surgery. Yeah, and so yeah, the iron, but that I think also that was some build up with Undertaker Diesel, and how they wanted to start portraying the Undertaker before the match.
Right.
With all the theatrics and the special effects.
Right. The chat here says, I love the Iron Man match back then. In 2026, it could work if there were if it was a stipulation match like the AK. And that's kind of the point I think we're making here is an Iron Man match shouldn't necessarily need stipulations. Right? We should those two guys should be able to go out there, put on the work, and tell a story. Because that's what pro wrestling is when you strip it down. It's 2 guys or 4 guys or whatever that are getting in there to tell a story. right? It's not an athletic competition in the same way that baseball or football is, which sometimes can be lacking the drama. Sometimes it can be lacking in anything. But pro wrestling should always tell a strong story. And an Iron Man match can absolutely do that. I think the only other one that I ever really enjoyed, I think, was Brock and Angle. I know Triple H and Rock had one, but it seemed to be, I don't know if it held my attention the same way, because I believe that's the one where Undertaker made his return and they kept teasing that the new Taker. And I just kept waiting for that moment. So maybe that's why I wasn't as invested in that one. But all right, guys, let's move on to our next WrestleMania as we keep going through these. We now are up to WrestleMania 13 from Chicago. And this one is highlighted by the match of the night by far, which is Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bret the Hitman Hart in a submission match, not an I Quit match, a submission match with special guest referee Ken Shamrock, which was pretty cool at that time. And then we've got The Undertaker facing Psycho Sid, who did not crap his pants in the ring, even though the urban legend is he did. But no, he did not. Taker walking out with the WWE Championship, which is very, very cool for me. And, of course, there's some other moments and highlights and matches from this one, including the Chicago street fight. But, Doc, let's start with you. WrestleMania 13, your thoughts and what makes this one worth checking out?
Well, you said it. The Stone Cold Hitman match, you've got that rare double turn where Bret Hart cements himself as a heel. Stone Cold becomes this anti-hero for the crowd. The iconic image of just the blood pouring down Steve Austin's face, which made it onto T-shirts and posters and your intro. I mean, that's what pro wrestling is to me right there, is that match. If you want to show someone what you're all about as a pro wrestling fan, you show that match. What a great story. I would also say you've got the match with the Road Warriors and Ahmed Johnson again versus the Nation of Domination. That's a good brawl.
Yeah.
That's some good smash mouth wrestling with big guys beating the snot out of each other. Hard to go wrong with they were Legion of Doom in WWF, but they'll always be the Road Warriors to me. Hard to go wrong with those guys. I mean, oh, what a rush. Yeah, that match was a rush for sure.
Oh, you don't want to call him LOD 2000?
No. Definitely not.
Oh man, yeah, no, and again, let's mention this. Bret Austin. What makes it so great? It's not just these two guys and what they did in the ring. It's not just the fact that we got some color in there. It's the story that was told. This story had history to it, and this match almost didn't happen. The match was supposed to be the return of Bret versus Shawn. But Shawn lost his smile, right? And relinquishes the title. Well, there goes Bret versus Shawn. So we retread then Austin versus Bret. We almost didn't get this classic match.
And this is something we encounter in PCW. Sometimes for whatever reason, someone can't make a match. We've got to scramble to cover, and it usually ends up being better than what would have been. You know, sometimes divine providence smiles on pro wrestling and gives you something like that never should have been. And then, wow, thank God we got it.
Right. All right, Chris, your thoughts on WrestleMania 13. What for you makes this must see?
Well, of course, the showstopper, if we will, the Brett Stone Cold match outshined the main event with the Undertaker taking the title
Yeah.
in Chicago against Psycho Sid Vicious. Um, but we also saw the first WrestleMania appearance of a young Rocky Maivia, The Rock,
There you go.
and against the Sultan for the IC title. And they had the Iron Sheik at ringside with the Sultan. We saw then The Rock's dad, iconic Rocky Johnson, get involved and show up at WrestleMania. So, yeah, I think, though, if I could go back for a minute, you mentioned an Iron Man match really quick.
Yeah.
There was Ricky Steamboat versus Rick Rude in WCW 92. Check that match out. That was a good Iron Man match that told the story of their feud. But the story from Bret Hart Austin that started Survivor Series 96 up until that WrestleMania 13. So yes, definitely. And of course blood sometimes it's got to make pro wrestling. I mean, like I don't know why WWE is not doing so much of it today.
I think like the accidental stuff, I think it's just getting away from blading is the big thing, and I'm for that. Like if it's an accidental thing or something like that, like that's understandable. But I'm just one of those, like, I'm not a big blood and guts guy, right? Like, so I think a lot of these independent guys take things way too far. AEW, I think, has taken things too far on multiple occasions. So John Moxley goes kind of over the edge sometimes. There's a couple moments where I'm like, I can't watch this. This isn't pro wrestling to me. But to each their own. I don't judge. I don't judge what anybody likes or doesn't like. But all right, Benny, give me your thoughts on WrestleMania 13 and what makes it must see.
Moxley draws color when he passes gas. It just
it
gets to be too much after a while.
Right.
But my thoughts when we were saying how that match almost came to not be was that disclaimer on the bottom of every single wrestling poster, which said cards subject to change without notice.
Right.
And thank God for that, because sometimes, serendipity prevails and we get even better matches than we thought we were going to get. But, Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin, 22 minutes and 5 seconds of wrestling heaven. I think anybody that wants to be a professional wrestler, their very first day of wrestling school, they should show that match and say, this is what you should aspire to be, because, oh my God, what a story they told. And I mean, to be able to pull off a double turn the way they did, just incredible. Just incredible.
Yeah.
I did, the ultimate irony was in the Sultan's corner was not only the Iron Sheik, but Bob Backlund, only in wrestling, right?
Right. And I was going to mention that before we're done. I was just like, it's one thing to have the Iron Sheik. It's one thing to have Bob Backlund. It's just so weird to have both for this character who is Rikishi. That's who the Sultan was Rikishi facing The Rock. The Rocky
Maivia. Me
Maivia.
and Zach Reed together.
You know what? Yeah. I'll go with that. Yeah. Which, by the way, guys, our Squared Circle game show of Zach Reed versus Doc was absolutely incredible. If you haven't seen it, you got to check it out. It is so funny because a lot of these things did not go the way that I thought. Like, which one of you is better looking? And I'm waiting for these guys to just self-promote like crazy. And then you got Zach going, well, Doc looks good for his age.
I do.
It just it was so funny to watch these two guys. But yeah, WrestleMania 13, it's this weird, like, it's actually a lot of fun, and is, to me, really the WrestleMania that sets up what's to come with the Attitude Era going forward. And I mean, you've got Stone Cold now is a babyface. and we're a year removed from the official beginning of the Austin era. Now, Taker is going to be your interim champion. Let's not fool ourselves. Taker was not winning the title to hold that belt till next year's WrestleMania. That really wasn't happening anymore. But I thought Taker deserved it. I thought Taker earned it. Especially given his opponents over the years, and even his opponent on that night. Sid, I like Sid though. I think I always loved the master and ruler of of the world. I thought I always got a kick out of Sid. Not the best worker in the world, but I always got a kick out of him. But 13 started the road to, and I always thought 13 was a step up from a lot of what came before it, and showed WWE was getting serious about that upward trajectory. Another forgotten match at WrestleMania 13. How about this pairing? So you've got Owen Hart and the British Bulldog facing off against, who wants to chime in on this one? Off the top of your head, no looking it up.
I believe Vader and somebody.
And
Jake the
Mankind.
Snake. No, dang it.
Vader and Mankind. Yeah, with Paul Bearer in their corner. That was a fun one. And I forgot 12. Yeah, you just reminded me, Doc. I forgot that 12 opened with WWE trying to establish Vader, who was a new guy there. You had Vader, Owen, and Bulldog versus Jake the Snake, and I don't remember who else. Yokozuna, yeah.
And I think Ahmed.
And Ahmed Johnson, that's right. And Jake got to DDT Owen, and Owen's sell of that DDT is classic. It is awesome. Absolutely love it. So, yeah, that was the beginning of 12. But, yeah, I think 13's underrated. It gets a bad rap, but I think it gets a bad rap because of when it happened in a downtime of WWE as opposed to looking at the event as a whole. And there's a lot of good stuff to see there. All right, but now we jump into a time when WWE is on the rise. It is trading off victories now with WCW. The Austin McMahon saga is underway. It is now we've had Austin giving McMahon the stunner. It's not at its peak yet though. But we are on that upward trajectory for WWE. And WrestleMania 14, I believe, came from Boston, Massachusetts. And this is an interesting rewatch. This was just before I started getting back into WWE fully. Right? When I stopped watching WWE was, like Doc said, during the new generation, when your characters were a hockey player and a trash guy, Duke the Dumpster, you had Mantar. There was a lot of bad in the new generation era, but there was some great wrestling, which is why I love going back and watching some of that stuff. But this was just before I came back to WWE. I had really gotten invested in high school and playing football and baseball and all that fun stuff. So wrestling was not my priority, but shortly after this, it would be again. But going back and looking at this one, it's an interesting rewatch, and I want to get your guys' thoughts here. Chris, I want to start with you. What are your thoughts on WrestleMania 14 looking back at it, and what stands out to you as must-see?
Well, really two things here. We saw the build-up between brother, let's say, versus brother as The Undertaker fought Kane.
Yeah.
And they did a tremendous build-up for that WrestleMania match, and that was a decent WrestleMania match with the storyline. And then, of course, Austin beating Shawn Michaels, like you said, Pat, with getting Mr. T involved on Austin's side, on DX's side. It was an interesting build-up to the match. The match was okay because, if you knew Shawn Michaels was hurt, he had a back injury.
Oh, it's tough to watch.
Did the match. still did the match and passed the torch on to Stone Cold that night. So
Yeah,
and we can't ever forget JR staying Stone Cold, Stone Cold.
right. And there's a lot of stories about backstage stuff. Talking about Taker getting ready, and just in case Sean didn't do business that night, because Sean was a wild card then. And even Sean will tell you, Sean was not a good guy. He was not in the right headspace. And you're right, he was dealing with a severe back injury that was really made horribly bad after during the Royal Rumble match with Taker. Back body drop, lower back smacks on that casket that's outside the ring. And if you watch that Austin Michaels matchup, I mean, it is hard to watch. If you've had an injury, if you know what that pain feels like, when he stands up and you can see him wincing with every move he makes, but then you see that he does something else spectacular, and you're like, how is this guy doing this? Right? I got to give no matter what he was like back then, what drugs he was on, I got to hand it to Sean for going out there and doing the job. I mean, he did exactly what he was asked to do, and it was pretty incredible. All right, Benny, give us your thoughts here on WrestleMania 14, the Austin era beginning.
Yeah, first of all, I got to give kudos to Glenn Jacobs, because I believe that was his first WrestleMania. It was definitely his first match with Taker.
Yeah,
on a large scale. But when I first saw Kane, I thought this has got to be like a 6-month gimmick. It's going to come and go.
Yeah.
Bringing him just to feud with but I mean, the guy parlayed it into something phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Quite the upscale from Dr. Isaac Yankem, DDS, right?
Oh, big time.
And yeah, Shawn Michaels, what a performer. I loved the build up, the heat between Stone Cold and Mike Tyson, and the swerve ending. It was fantastic.
My favorite part of Austin and Tyson is that Tyson apparently can't say Stone Cold very well. He kept calling him Cold Stone. And every time he did,
like the creamery.
Right. Every time he did, I'm like, yeah, I could go for some.
Yeah.
They have that silk ice cream there that I like. Oh, let's do that.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And your point about Kane, I mean, here's a guy that was able to tell you everything you needed to know about a character, what was going through his mind, what without saying a word for years. It was all through movements. And my favorite was he took, like a lot of guys will look at animals and that sort of, like Warwick Davis, when he was playing Wicket in Star Wars, he would take from his puppy, who would tilt his head when he was curious and stuff. And Kane did something very similar, but it was frightening when he did it, when he would just kind of do this, and you're like, oh crap. But that was my favorite version of Kane. When Kane started talking, and then we took the mask, I still got to give Glenn Jacobs credit, because he still made it work. But my favorite version of Kane was the one that was the silent, Michael Myers, Jason style, just monster. Doc, let's get your thoughts on WrestleMania 14. Take it away.
Well, like you were saying, WrestleMania 14 really showed the caliber of Shawn Michaels as a performer, working hurt like that, and able to turn in a watchable match.
Right.
I mean, it's not his best match, but it's definitely watchable. You've got the build up between Undertaker and Kane finally coming to a head, and this was the Mania that made me start watching WWF again. Like I had been checking out WCW with the NWO and what was going on over there, but this was like, oh man, this is some solid stuff they're doing. I think a hidden gem on this card is Triple H versus Owen Hart.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was a great, pure technical match. You get a glimpse of Triple H is a main eventer in this one for the first time. You're saying, hey, this guy could actually go and tell a story and do some stuff. He's more than just the bow guy and stuff. DX is going strong now. He's got some good heat behind him. So yeah, I think that's one to check out that maybe a lot of people might gloss over trying to get to Kane and Undertaker and Austin and Michaels.
Right. Yeah, WrestleMania 14. It's an like I said, it's an interesting rewatch. It feels like it's kind of like, okay, this is cool, and then we're kind of back down. And that's kind of how the Attitude Era would be. Like, the Attitude Era was very hit and miss, and a lot of it you go back and you watch and you're like, oh my god, how did I like that? Like, how did I watch I Choppa You Pee Pee? How did this become a thing? Right? But it's because the highs, the really good stuff, were really, really good. Austin McMahon was so good, it made everything underneath it look better. It elevated everything underneath it. You put up with crap because what was good was really good in terms of storytelling. There was some questionable in-ring stuff during the Attitude Era. But, WrestleMania 14, it gave us the greatest tag team of all time, LOD 2000, with Sonny. Because that makes sense, right? They come out with biker helmets on. And they won. They won the tag team battle royal, which is always a fun way to start off WrestleMania. But yeah, Triple H and Owen, Taker and Kane, my favorite long-term storyline ever. I love Taker and Kane, and I think their match was really, really good. For two big men, for Undertaker having to be in there with another big guy again, this was the best one. This was by far better than Giant Gonzalez, King Kong Bundy, Diesel, Psycho Sid. And again, more kudos to Kane because he has to emulate a lot of the things that Taker does, but he made them his own. He made the chokeslam his own. He made the tombstone his own. Instead of pinning the guy with his hands on his chest, Kane would pin them with the arms spread wide. Just a little detail that separates them but still keeps them very close together. So, very good. The Rock. Also, we haven't mentioned The Rock versus Ken Shamrock. A lot of people forget how over Ken Shamrock was. And The Rock was a great guy to be in the ring against at that time for him. We also have the dumpster match between the New Age Outlaws.
Fire match.
The New Age Outlaws. And then you had Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie, a.k.a. Terry Funk. And of course, Cactus Jack had a great moment before all of this where Cactus Jack returns and Triple H and Vince McMahon are some of the best reactors in pro wrestling. When they did the whole Three Faces of Foley thing, I don't know if you guys remember this, then we'll move on. But when you had Dude Love interviewing Mankind on the screen, I mean, it was even then, like, the WWE pulled that off and did such a great job, was so impressive. But you had that interview, and then they're like, well, we're not going to face Triple H. We can't trace Triple H in this match, but there is a guy who can, and here comes Cactus Jack. And my favorite was Dude Love was like, ooh, I thought he was dead. And the reintroduction of Cactus Jack was absolutely beautiful. It was wonderful. And the fact that the fans were like as crazy and went nuts about it, it was just fantastic. Another thing we forgot to mention, Pete Rose and the tombstone to Pete Rose. Right? Says, dude, it was an epic card, 14. It was a good card. I don't know if I would call it epic. It was a good card. It's again, we're kind of doing that kind of step up now. Unfortunately, we're gonna move. We're gonna have again. That's kind of like I said. That's kind of the Attitude Era. It's a kind of hit and miss here. But 14 is a very good card. I'm not taking that away. I don't know if I'd put it up there as epic, but maybe it's because I'm a little bit. I don't view the Attitude Era like a lot of people do. I don't look at it as like the pinnacle of pro wrestling. I look at it as the popularity of it. You can't deny. You can't. But do I see the Attitude Era as like that is the best era of pro wrestling? No, I don't. That's just me. But WWE must think highly of it because they keep running back to it every so often. This year's WWE 2K26 is just it's running wild with Attitude Era content. The Monday Night Wars, the Attitude Era, all that stuff. It is going crazy here. Just checking on something here. All right, let's move on, ladies and gentlemen, to WrestleMania 15. This was the first WrestleMania in a long time that I was paying very close attention to. I was highly invested in. The Rock was at ungodly levels of heeldom. right as he's about to go full on babyface, we recreate the moment of the Montreal Screwjob, and here Mankind is now a babyface. The Rock is now the corporate champion. Now we have our opponent for Austin going into WrestleMania, but I loved the swerves leading into this one. McMahon wins the Rumble, which, like it or not, it added a little bit of a twist to how are we going to get Austin to WrestleMania, because it was all about screwing Austin out of even the opportunity to challenge for the title. Everything was about screwing Austin here, and I loved it. I was there for every minute of that. And so McMahon wins the title. Now, what doesn't make sense is why would you then put that on the line at St. Valentine's Day Massacre? That didn't make any sense to me. And then you have, of course, the whole thing with the special guest referee, with the newly brought in Paul White, who had not been officially, like, permanently the Big Show yet. They still kept calling him Paul White. And Mankind, Paul White gets himself disqualified and has his very first turn of $8 million that he would have over his career. His first turn, and think about that, guys. The guy that's probably turned more than anyone in the history of pro wrestling, the Big Show, he turned 1 month after he debuts. 1 month. He got to be a heel for 1 month, and then he turns. That tells you everything you need to know about the career of the Big Show in the WWE, because it would just continue on from there. All right, Benny, I want to hear your thoughts on WrestleMania 15 and what makes this one must see.
Well, first thing is I feel sorry for Bart Gunn, because I think 35 seconds of disaster and he got his ass knocked out and pretty much his career went down the toilet.
Oh, man.
You know, that could have been if Steve Blackman had not gotten hurt.
Yeah.
I think he beat Mark Merrow in the first round, and I believe he did something to his leg, and he had to withdraw. I can only imagine like how he would have torn through everybody. And I think I think it would have lasted longer than 35 seconds.
Oh yeah,
Butterbean.
Blackman was the real deal.
Yeah, it might even had a different outcome. But of course, you got Stone Cold and The Rock with Mankind as a referee, and you had Pete Rose again. So yeah, pretty decent. Pretty enjoyable.
I'm trying to think. So this one, 15, I believe that would have been the San Diego Chicken that he came out dressed as.
I believe so.
Yeah. Like, what? Like, even just saying that out loud is insane. But yeah, the Brawl for All. That was originally designed as a vehicle for Dr. Death. They were supposed to be Dr. Death. I'm like, okay, if you wanted that to be a vehicle for Dr. Death, why didn't you just do what you normally do and make it not a legit competition? Like, I'm sure there's a way to play it up that it's not, right? But Dr. Death gets taken out. It was supposed to lead to Dr. Death challenging Stone Cold later on. And Bart Gunn gets all the way to the end. And how do they reward him? Putting him in there with Butterbean. And I don't think I'd ever seen a human being turn into a bobblehead doll as much as I'd seen Bart Gunn. That is, go back and watch Butterbean hit him, and the second time he gets a good shot at Bart Gunn's head goes. I'm sorry, Bart Gunn, but it is the funniest thing. I shouldn't be laughing that hard, but his head just goes. Oh man, Doc, save me here. Go ahead, take it away, Doc.
Well, you got Stone Cold and The Rock, and what more do you have to say about that? These one of, if not the greatest rivalries wrestling has ever had, with two of the most charismatic men wrestling's ever had. The one, I remember watching this back in the day, and the one that really surprised me was Shane and X-Pac.
Yeah.
Because I was like, Shane McMahon, Vince's kid, come on now.
Yeah.
This is going to be off. Shane can wrestle. Shane, oh no, Shane, don't do that, you crazy. That was my reaction the whole match. Was I was in awe and shocked by Shane McMahon's performance. And so it got to the point where I was looking forward to watching Shane O'Mac wrestle, because I was going to, again, not a huge fan of spot fests, but Shane could do it, man. And they were some great spots.
He just can't throw a punch.
Yeah. You also had, I mean, back in my 20s, I was all about these because I was a young man. Oh, the Divas wrestling, and it would usually end up with being something softcore. But that matches like that show you the transition of when you're a young man and you mark out for that kind of stuff to when, oh, I'm a father with daughters now. Let's not watch this crap.
Yeah, I think 15 would have been Sable and Tori.
Sable and Tori, yeah.
Yeah. And that was the first time we got to see what has now become the normal way that Rhea Ripley pins people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember even then watching that going,
hello.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Big Show. The Big Show knocking out Vince. It was funny. I love the way Vince takes stuff. But yeah, no, it's crazy to watch how the women, especially in this era, are presented, and now looking at how they're presented now, it's like back then it was like the sideshow at the circus, it was hitting that lowest common denominator, and now the women are given just as much time a lot of times as the men. They're featured on every show, and they steal the show a lot. We talked about last year's Wrestlemania, that triple threat match: Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, and Bianca Belair. Tough to give me a match better than that one. Let's be fair. I still to this day stand by one of the best performers in all of WWE is Charlotte Flair. She's to me, she is my favorite in-ring performer. All around, I'm a big Rhea Ripley fan, but Charlotte Flair is my GOAT in-ring for women's wrestling. All right, Chris, your thoughts on WrestleMania 15?
Well, of course, like Benny started it off, and we were having a laugh about it, how Butterbean just totally destroyed Bart Gunn in that Brawl for All match, if you call it that. But here we didn't mention The Undertaker still going undefeated, if you will, in a Hell in a Cell match against Big Boss Man. And then I was surprised that they literally hung the Big Boss Man there from the Hell in the Cell cage. And then, of course, the build-up. This is where we saw the beer truck right before this main event
Right.
between Austin and The Rock. And, of course, Austin getting the title for a second time.
Yeah, Vince McMahon swimming in beer. Wouldn't that have been cool to be in the audience for that one? Because you know that if that beer got into the crowd, and there's probably people who have a shirt. Just knowing how people are, there's probably people that wore a shirt that night that they've now framed that they never washed that still has beer on it from that night. I have to think there's somebody out there that has that. The originally Mean Street Posse was supposed to face the rest of DX in a Greenwich street fight, with the match set in the mean streets of Greenwich, but the mean streets of Greenwich, but the match never aired. So there's a couple things here. So big boss man. We have to break. That's another funny, unintentionally funny moment. You shouldn't be laughing at a guy being hung in the middle of the ring. But after the Hell in a Cell, which was not a good Hell in a Cell, by the way, it just was not. This was bad. And at the end of the match, the cage starts to go up, and the Brood comes down for reasons, right? They put the noose through the cage. We tie up Boss Man. Obviously, Boss Man's protected. He's not really being hung. And they lift him up. And the way Boss Man is like this, it reminds me of Chris Farley from Tommy Boy when he's like, Tommy, like wingy. It looked unintentionally funny. But I mean, like the gall to hang a guy anyway is just it's insanity. Why? Like it really, hanging someone doesn't even match the character of the Undertaker and what his character was at that time. I would not. I mean, what's next? You burn a guy at the stake? But the other part of WrestleMania 15 that I think gets overlooked a lot, and it's actually where the Attitude Era storytelling works really well, is the story of DX, China, and Triple H. So DX, for a while leading up to WrestleMania 15, was Triple H, X-Pac, Road Dogg, and Billy Gunn, right? Because China had defected to the corporation. At this WrestleMania, Kane is facing Triple H. Now, Kane was also part of the corporation, and China sides with Triple H, and we're all sitting here like, yes, DX is fully formed and back together. China's back home where she belongs. Only to find out that it's actually that Triple H and China had crossed Kane. Both had joined the corporation. Kane is now going to be pushed towards the face side. Triple H turns on X-Pac, Road Dogg, and Billy Gunn, DX. I thought that was really, really well done because I never saw that coming. So really, really good storytelling, I thought, from DX, from Triple H, the corporation, and all that. So you had a lot of really good ups and downs here. Undertaker put the noose around Boss Man's neck. The cell rises and a hanging Boss Man with it. The segment has been edited off of various home video releases. So it's not on Netflix either. I know Peacock went overboard with censoring a lot of stuff over the years, but why would it be edited? Like, Doc, why do we need to edit that? Does it really need to be taken out?
There could be triggers for people with self-deletion ideations. That's the only thing I could think of. Definitely in poor taste, but again, I'm against the whitewashing of history,
right,
especially when it comes to wrestling. But that's the only thing I could think of is why they would. And again, it's not like he was doing it to himself. either that or just they thought it's in poor taste, so we're gonna get rid of it. But
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you there. Like even the Piper bad news match at WrestleMania 6, I get it. I get Piper's half blackface. I mean, full black body. Let's be real.
Piper said way worse in the lead up to WrestleMania 1 about Mr. T.
Oh yeah.
So and Paul Orndorff too.
Yeah.
So I mean that was kind of the least of Piper's reasons to get canceled by cancel culture.
Right. And I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm not saying any of it's okay. Right. We shouldn't be glorifying hanging anybody. We shouldn't be glorifying the blackface segment and all that. But I think my thing is that to remove it, it's like you're trying to say it never happened. And if you're hiding history, you can't learn from history.
Exactly.
Right? And that's my big thing. Like, it bothered me. Like, I remember this is going off topic a little bit. I remember watching Disney Plus at one point, and they had put all the Muppet Show episodes up. And I love the Muppet Show. Love Muppet Show. And the Muppet Show started, and all of a sudden there's this disclaimer that some of the subject matter is, I don't think, the Muppets? There's sensitive stuff. There's stuff that might offend somebody here on the Muppet Show. Like, what is happening? But they didn't edit it out. They just put a little thing in front that said, hey, some of this stuff might be sensitive to our snowflakes out there. So I would rather see that. If you have a problem with what they did during the Attitude Era, if you have a problem with what they did, with anything Piper did, just put a disclaimer up saying, hey, it's Rowdy Roddy Piper. You know what you're getting. Right? So, all right, guys, let's move on real quick. Let's jump into our next WrestleMania. We're on that upward trajectory, and then all of a sudden we hit an iceberg that is known as WrestleMania 2000. Now, whereas WrestleMania 2000, the video game, is a lot of fun, and I actually think is better than No Mercy. When my son and I just played it this last Tuesday for our game night show. Here's our new game night hat. Looks awesome, by the way. And WrestleMania 2000 only has one singles match without thought. Chris, do you know who that singles match was?
Well, I guess I'm going to just go with my two highlights of this, like it was lackluster and just, the 2000, from 99 to 2000. But I'm going to say it was Benoit versus Jericho was a good match. Maybe even the showstopper before we got Triple H winning the title in a four-way.
Well, actually, that was a triple threat match. It was Jericho, Benoit, and Angle. So, Benny, do you know who the singles match was?
I just know I think it was the ladies match.
Yes.
And oh God, I know the Cat was one of them, I think.
That's one.
I can't think of the other one.
All right, Doc, it's your chance.
Terry Runnels.
That's right. That's right. Terry and the Cat with special guest referee Val Venus with his referee towel on. And then you have in the corners of each one, the Cat had Mae Young in her corner. And Terry had the fabulous Moolah in her corner. And the way you won this match, not pinfall, not submission, all you had to do was throw your opponent out of the ring. Not over the top rope. Just throw them out. Talk about low-hanging fruit, people. This was bad. Bad. Your opening match, all right? Ice-T wrapping the Godfather and D'Lo Brown to the ring. Now, I like Ice-T, but pimpin' ain't easy, man, is not his best work.
I have a friend who used to just, because I had that album and he used to just tear that song up.
Pimpin' ain't easy, man.
Easy, man.
Pimpin' ain't easy, man.
Easy, man.
And not man, Maine.
Maine.
And who did they face off against? No one but the classic duo of the Big Boss Man and The name
Bull Buchanan.
Bull Buchanan. Yeah.
B squared.
Oh my god. Yeah, B squared. And I love the God. I loved the character of the Godfather, and all that. I was so pissed when he joined the right to censor. I understood it, but I was so mad when that happened. The Godfather was so much fun.
I missed the hose.
Yeah. Why am I getting a message from Benny? Benny, did you just message me?
Well, we got a message from the owner of Want Radio.
Oh, did we? Oh, I didn't get that. I just see Benny telling me you're available this afternoon, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. What are you?
That was actually to the hooker that emailed me earlier.
Oh, okay. You just sent it to the wrong.
And he found the hose.
Sent it to the wrong person.
Right, yeah, got hose in my mind.
All right, guys. So, all right, so let's go to Benny though. Benny, tell me your thoughts on WrestleMania 2000. What makes this one worth checking out?
Not much. The one thing I did like was the match with Jericho, Benoit, and Kurt Angle for the 2 titles. I did like that. The fact that the IC and the European titles were on the line. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Pete Rose came back, and I think 3rd year in a row, was it?
What's that?
I said Pete Rose came back, I
Yes.
believe, for the 3rd year in a row.
Yeah.
But other than that, really not much to talk about. Sorry to say.
Yeah, I'll get to what there is one match in particular that absolutely stands out as must see. But Chris Hall jumping in here. Well, he was our guest last week. This was officially his first Mania. And if you'd never seen a Mania before this, I can understand how this might be like, hey, this is pretty cool. Because it had a big feel to it. It was right here in Anaheim, of course. It was still the Arrowhead Pond at the time. It wasn't the Honda Center yet. It had a cool feel to it, but it lacked the same vibe that all the previous WrestleManias had. And again, the lack of singles matches I thought was a detriment to it. Doc, your thoughts on WrestleMania 2000?
Well, my best memories of this, I do kind of look back at this one fondly, even though it was not the best WrestleMania.
Right.
Just because I was working at Walmart at the time, back in my pleb days, and all the night crew, we were all big WWE, WCW fans, and so we had this big WrestleMania party. Everyone was there. And so that sense of watching something with the crowd of friends, you have fond memories of it. Again, I was in my 20s, so Terry and the cat didn't bother me as much as it would now. But of course, you definitely got to put over Angle, Benoit, and Jericho. 3 of the best workers, best technical wrestlers in the business. Kurt Angle loses his titles without ever getting pinned. So that's some great storytelling.
Yep.
But then you got the ladder match with the Dudley Boys, the Hardys, and Edge and Christian. What an amazing match that was when it happened. I think that was just a lot of fun. It did plant the seeds to a lot of what we see today with the spot fests. But back in the day, I mean, that was great. You had never seen anything like it before. All 6 competitors just really putting their bodies on the line. Every one of those is like a career-ending move potentially. And you can see the effects on what matches like that have had on the life of Jeff Hardy. But amazing for those guys' careers. That was a solid match.
Yeah, and just a clarification, so Chris, the Hardys, Edge and Christian, and Dudley's was not technically a TLC match. It was a ladder match. The TLC did not become a thing until SummerSlam, And that's why there's a lot of confusion, because WrestleMania 17, it's TLC 2, right? And a lot of people think that means it's the follow-up to WrestleMania 2000. But the truth is that was just a ladder match. TLC was invented for SummerSlam, and the sequel to that was WrestleMania 17. So just a fun little thing there, just a little semantic there. But we got to mention the main event with WrestleMania 2000. You got Big Show. You've got Mick Foley, not one of his characters, but Mick Foley. You got The Rock, and you got Triple H with a McMahon in every corner. Shane with Big Show. You got Linda with Mick. You've got Stephanie with Triple H, and you got Vince with The Rock. You knew this was going to have, as we like to say on this show, shenanigans aplenty. All right, now here's another beef I have with WrestleMania 2000. The main event match is called the Fatal 4-Way Elimination Match. I'll repeat that. The Fatal 4-Way Elimination Match. Fatal 4-Way means one fall. There is no elimination. It can be a 4-way elimination match, but not a fatal 4-way elimination match. Like, fatal means that's the end of it, right? So that always bothered me when I was just like, no, it's not a fatal 4-way. And I could have told you, I could have told you Big Show was going to be the first guy out. I could have told you Mick Foley was going to be the second guy out. But the ending, with your heel going over, I was good with that. I was good with that. Because you didn't get to see that very often. Yokozuna was the first heel to potentially walk out of WrestleMania as the champion. But he didn't. Thanks to Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 9.
That's not going to work for me, brother.
That's not, no. But the fact that Triple H won and The Rock didn't win, I think everybody and their mother expected The Rock to walk out of there as champion. So to defy expectations at that moment, I thought was great. Was the match great? Not really. But The Rock still got to go over really good at the end of that match. He rock bottoms Stephanie. And I think he even gives her the people's elbow before taking off. Of course, we get turn after turn. Vince turns. I'm trying to think. Either he hit Shane in the nuts or Shane hits it. One of them hit each other in the nuts at one point, and it was hilarious because he just like backhands it. It was so funny. But yeah, WrestleMania 2000 was not, for me, it was not a great pay-per-view. It was not a great WrestleMania, but it would lead us into the era without Vince Russo, as Vince Russo would head off shortly thereafter, I believe shortly thereafter, for WCW, and we all know how that ended. But our first WrestleMania without him is still heralded to this day as a legit top 5 WrestleMania of all time. I don't know if it's number 1. I have a hard time doing top 10 lists of anything because I feel bad putting anything over anything else. Like, I have my favorites, but it's hard to pick a favorite, like an all-time great WrestleMania. But WWE put on WrestleMania 17 from the Houston Astrodome. And it made WrestleMania feel like the spectacle that it needed to feel. It brought, to me, 17 brought WrestleMania back to that Super Bowl-esque status. Seeing WrestleMania back in a stadium like it was for WrestleMania 3, like it was in Toronto for 6, like it was even for 8. Even though I don't look at 8 as being a great WrestleMania, it had that big time feel. That's what stadiums do. I know wrestlers don't like them a lot of times because the sound just goes up. They can't hear the cheers and know what they're doing is working. But from a visual standpoint, it makes WrestleMania feel epic. And I forget, I think it might have been AJ Styles or somebody said that now that the Rumble is held in stadiums, that SummerSlam is held in a stadium, Elimination Chamber has been held in a stadium. It makes WrestleMania feel a little bit less like the end-all be-all of pro wrestling events. We know it is, but it's about perception. But WrestleMania 17 is absolutely a great one. I want to start off, Benny, with you. Give me your thoughts on WrestleMania 17 and what is worth checking out.
One of my favorites ever. You got Stone Cold versus The Rock with a no DQ match. You got Jericho against Regal for the IC title. You got Angle and Benoit, two of the best workers, of that era. And then you got Edge and Christian versus the Dudley Boys and the Hardy Boys, and that was a TLC, correct?
This one was TLC, yes.
Yeah, and then you got Undertaker, Triple H, Shane and Vince, not that much, but about 5 great matches there.
Yeah, sorry, I'm having to multitask, so I didn't want people to think I wasn't paying attention to everybody. But really, really good stuff here. Doc, let's get to you. Tell me your thoughts on WrestleMania 17 and what is worth checking out here.
Well, Chris Jericho and William Regal, 2 great workers going up against each other. I also think that Kane, Big Show, Raven hardcore match, really underrated. Raven driving that golf cart into the Big Show was pretty wild.
Right.
Raven kind of, I think the guy should get more credit than he gets.
Oh, for sure.
I was a big fan of Raven back in his WCW days. Eddie Guerrero taking on Test. Eddie always puts in a great performance. The TLC match again, like, let's go bigger, let's go better, let's see what other crazy stunts we can do. Even the gimmick battle royal it's fun seeing the old guys come in and like, oh hey, I remember that guy. Oh, it's the Bushwhackers. The Stone Cold heel turn, very, very controversial. Didn't see that coming. Not in a million years.
Right.
Again, it would be like me siding with Zach Reed. Like people who've been watching PCW would be like, "What? Dr. Haywood hates Zach Reed," and I do with a fiery passion. I can't. I would never ever team with that guy. So, I mean, you've got a lot going on here. This one definitely deserves to be in the upper echelons of Manias for sure.
The problem with the Stone Cold heel turn, for me, even at the time, I was saying that the timing and the location were wrong, right? WrestleMania is in Texas. Austin could have done the worst thing. He could have hung The Rock from the Hell in a Cell. They would have cheered him like he was Caesar returning to Rome. You weren't going to get the crowd to boo Austin in Texas winning the title no matter how he did it. It wasn't going to happen. And then so when you're watching this and you understand the story being told from home, but then your follow through has to make a difference, right? I've said that with the John Cena heel turn. It's the follow through. And I thought Cena did a good job trying to keep that heel turn going. I thought Cena did what he needed to do. So Cena wasn't the problem. Austin's follow through was, I don't owe you an explanation. Just, I'm a heel now. And it's like, really? That's what we're doing? And then they never really talked about it again. That was it. And I'm like, well, that was horrible. And now you're just biding your time till Stone Cold becomes a good guy again. And you had to really bide your time. Now, there were some interesting, fun things that happened during the heel run. Him playing the guitar, singing Kumbaya. The comedy stuff. Again, he's hurt during a lot of this. His comedy stuff with Kurt Angle, I still think is some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen. The cowboy hats and stuff. But all in all, I still liked him. As a heel turn, it just didn't work. But I think you take that heel turn, you do it somewhere else where the crowd's going to react in a negative fashion, where they're going to act shocked and upset and, NWO like throwing crap in the ring. That's what you wanted. And you just weren't going to get that from Texas. Before we jump over to Chris, yes, the only Mania with Paul Heyman as a commentator, and I was all in for it. I loved Paul Heyman and JR's thing. I said this last week. Benny might remember. I said this. I said I liked Paul Heyman and JR better than King and JR. That might be highly controversial with a lot of people, but King got on my nerves a lot. When he returned as a babyface, the dynamic between JR and the King was kind of lost. The two babyface commentator booth just didn't work for me. And I love the way that Paul Heyman got under JR's skin constantly. It was so good.
As a commentary guy, I will say I'm not a fan of Jerry Lawler's commentary. It's basically, puppies. That's it. Definitely not a gorilla and Bobby. And yeah, Paul and JR, chef's kiss.
Yep. And I agree with Grandmaster here. The promotional match preview video package for the main event, Limp Bizkit's My Way for The Rock and Stone Cold, is one of the greatest video packages of all time, and absolutely is. It stands to this day as one of the best of all time. All right, Chris, your thoughts on WrestleMania XI?
Yes, well, what some people here didn't say was we got China actually women winning a women's championship for once,
right,
over Ivory. And the McMahon versus McMahon was pretty good, and the storytelling there. But of course, the highlight, as we know, was Shane going from post to post against his old man. There's the WrestleMania moment for sure.
Yep.
And probably helped Shane's wrestling career.
Oh, yeah.
And, yes, the gimmick battle royal, just classic for classic fans like me, where at the end we saw Slaughter Sheik, and that continued on into the 2000s.
Right.
And, Undertaker, Triple H, that was a good match. They battled throughout the Astrodome.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
And the Stone Cold heel turn. I agree with Doc and you, Pat, that one, I didn't see that coming, and two, I believe the fans still cheered him even though he turned heel there at the end because of being in Houston.
Right. Yep. And to make a point, if someone were to ask me what is must see on WrestleMania 7, I would probably tell you the whole show. I thought the whole show was good from top to bottom. And if you want to see a match that's the most fun match to watch, it's got all the moves, all the spots you want to see, you're definitely the TLC match. In terms of overall, I love Taker and Triple H. I thought that was a great match. The build to that was great. When at one point Taker has Kane holding Stephanie up on a second story thing, and he's trying to get William Regal to give him the match with Triple H. And this was Triple H at like his most jacked. Like Triple H, there's one point where he's hammering the Taker's bike, and he looks like he's freaking ready for the WBF. So yeah, throwing out the WBF there for all you guys. All right, let's jump into now the WrestleMania that brought in the return of some of the big names from WCW. WrestleMania 17 was right after the WWE had purchased WCW, and all of its big names did not come along. We got Booker T shortly after. That was a good get. We got Diamond Dallas Page that they butchered. That did not work out well. But just before WrestleMania, Hall, Nash, and Hogan are back. The NWO. Vince is going to try to destroy the WWE from within. Uh, it was an interesting time to be a WWE fan for sure. 18 again back in Toronto had that big WrestleMania Super Bowl type feel to it. Interesting card to say the least, but definitely the first time where I don't know, maybe not the first time, but to me it was the first time that the WWE title match at the end of the night should not have been the main event. Right? Because Hogan Rock took the air out of the entire place. Everyone was spent after Rock Hogan, and unless Triple H and Jericho were going to go out there and do stuff that nobody had ever seen before to reignite them, it was doomed from the beginning to just be a mid-match. And Hogan Rock isn't exactly a classic wrestling match. It is a Hogan match. The crowd took over that match and made Hogan the hero. So we'll talk about that, but let's start with Doc. Doc, give me your thoughts on WrestleMania 18 and what makes this must-see.
Well, yeah, that Hogan Rock match was one of the first times I saw a crowd really hijack a match. But as a fan watching, I didn't care. It was like, oh, Hogan is back, and yes, this is fantastic. And credit to Hogan and The Rock for reading the crowd and playing things on the fly to really get the crowd even more engaged. They stole the show, overshadows every other single match on the card. You got to go back and actually study the show to find something worth talking about other than the Hogan Rock match. I think one of the things worth talking about is the Booker T and Edge match.
Yep.
You got Booker T, great worker, Edge showing those hints of the main event player he would be in the future. His first real time to shine as a singles guy. Felt very let down by Stone Cold versus Scott Hall. I was expecting something a little higher caliber and felt let down by that one. Kurt Angle versus Kane. Kurt Angle and Kane, both of those guys can deliver solid matches. Undertaker versus Ric Flair was a little sad. This isn't Ric Flair, feeling his confidence yet again. So that one was a little rough to watch for me. Diamond Dallas Page, he talks about how this was his favorite match against Christian. We've kind of gotten out of that the stalker angle, and now it's not a good thing, it's a bad thing.
Right.
Kind of almost a prophetic version of the man he is now, the self-help guru. So that was very interesting to look back at in hindsight, and getting to know Dallas the man himself. The other thing I liked was the Hardcore Championship, little bits throughout, interspersed throughout the show. I believe the 24/7 rule was in effect at this time. So
yeah,
you'd have the little segments in between the matches, and
that was funny.
All of a sudden, here comes Hurricane, here comes Molly Holly. So yeah, that was a lot of fun with those little mini matches in between.
Right. All right, Chris, give us your thoughts. WrestleMania 18.
Yeah, back at the Sky Dome in Toronto, like you said, Pat, that WrestleMania stadium feel like 17 was in the Astrodome. Undertaker Flair was decent, but as Doc said, but Undertaker still undefeated there at WrestleMania. The Stone Cold comic between Scott Hall was good, but as Doc said, the match was kind of lackluster. But the build up between The Rock and Hogan, and just that was just historic. Like the NWO and The Rock and everybody getting involved in that. Of course, it stole the show as we all know, like you said, Pat. And if you didn't know, Triple H was coming back from the injury, and of course he was going to get the title at the end, which was then the unified
Right.
WWE Championship. So, but all in all, a decent card. It was pretty good, but yeah, Hogan Rock took it all.
Right. Yeah, the undisputed title, Chris Jericho, the first ever undisputed WWE champion when they combined both WCW and WWE titles. Yeah. Let's go on to Benny. Benny, your thoughts on WrestleMania 18?
So on Wednesday night, I do the podcast When It Was Real with Nikita Brezhnikov. And, very important words, when it was real. The name of the game in wrestling is emotional investment. You get those people emotionally invested, you've got them.
Right.
They've got it. And here with Rock and Hogan, 68,000 people were emotionally invested. It doesn't get any better than that.
Right.
The match is almost like inconsequential. It's, how everybody felt about the match. And yeah, so that alone, put it in the upper echelon. You had, was it Van Dam versus Regal? You had Undertaker Flair, which they gave a lot of time to.
Yeah.
And you had, I agree with you though, they really should not have put Triple H and Jericho after Hogan and Rock, because it was like everybody was spent by then.
Right. I want to read this here because I like the way it's written and without the correction, because when we talk about Taker beating Taker and Flair, this was Taker's 10th WrestleMania appearance and his 10th WrestleMania victory. He's now 10-0 at this one. And Grandmaster, I love you, buddy, but this will live forever. Right? As a commentator once said, when a ball bounced off of Jose Canseco's head for a home run, you've done a lot of great things. You've hit a lot of home runs, but that shot will live forever. Grandmaster writes, first Mania that Undertaker acknowledges the streak with 10 gingers. If you don't find that funny, I don't know if we could be friends. That is funny right there. That to me, because I know that Taker is actually a ginger too. Like Taker's natural hair color is red. He has freckles. He's pale. He's me. And so when I read that, all I could picture was Taker bringing out 10 redheads to acknowledge the streak. And that just hit me as being funny. But I guess that's just me. I guess that's just my stupid sense of humor. But well done, Grandmaster. He did correct himself and said fingers. It was also the first time I realized that Undertaker has really effed up fingers. Like, Taker's fingers are all crooked because when he does that, like, he can't straighten a couple of his fingers. All right. Benny, you look absolutely enthralled by everything I'm saying. I'm talking, and this is Benny. I thought his video froze. Yeah, there. You look like my son Seth. My son Seth in 50 years. That is exactly what he's going to look like right there.
Seth age enhanced.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on, ladies and gentlemen, because we're nearing the end of the program and we're zooming by here in time-wise for me. And we're now moving on to WrestleMania 19 from Safeco Field in Seattle, which unfairly has been blamed by multiple people as the reason why WrestleMania 19 did not do as well buy rate-wise and everything as WrestleMania 18. I don't get why WrestleMania 19 wasn't better received. I actually think it's good. Not all of it. Most WrestleManias aren't from top to bottom great. But I mean, you had a strong main event, Brock versus Kurt. That should have brought in fans. You've got Hogan versus Vince, which isn't going to be a technical masterpiece, but that gave us one of the most memorable shots ever of Vince coming up looking like the devil with blood all over his face. You have Austin Rock 3. because who didn't want to see Austin Rock during that era? WrestleMania 19, I mean, apart from what I felt bad for Taker in his handicap match against Big Show and Albert, but, you know, the streak's still alive. But, I mean, Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho? I mean, really, what Triple H and Booker T. We didn't know that the ending was going to be so bad. I think most of us went into 19 thinking that we were going to see Booker win the big one. Instead, we watched him lay there for about 2.5 minutes whilst Triple H went to make the cover. So it's a crazy, crazy Mania. There's a lot of discussion about what worked, what didn't work, and that kind of thing. But I think there's plenty of good to see here. Chris, you tell us, what is your thoughts on WrestleMania 19 and what is worth checking out?
A lot of agreement with you, Pat, with those matches that you mentioned. I have highlighted here, but I think the Shawn Michaels Jericho was, a pretty good technical match that each other showed. And of course, Hogan, McMahon, the built up 20 years in the making.
Right.
And then you got Piper coming down and getting involved in that, turning on Hogan and, trying to rekindle that in the coming months. And, Lesnar, Kurt Angle, as you mentioned, Triple H, Rock, Stone Cold getting on the Rock for some revenge. So I thought it was a pretty decent card, and it was cool being in Seiko Field.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked the venue. It because it's a baseball field, so it didn't have the same stadium look to it. It felt unique. It felt different. And yeah, Limp Bizkit played "Rollin'" during the Undertaker's entrance. I always loved that as Taker's theme when he was the biker. I liked it better than "Dead Man Walking." I that one was kind of to me. And the American Badass one was all right. Rollin' was it for me. I loved Rollin' as the Undertaker's biker theme. I wish that's the one they would play when he comes out now. But they always play Kid Rock when he comes out now. All right, Benny, your thoughts on WrestleMania 19. Give it to me.
Well, you got a lot of wrestling. Those last 5 matches. So you had Michaels and Jericho, 22 minutes, 35 seconds. Triple H and Booker T, 18:45. Hogan and McMahon, 20 minutes, 47 seconds. Rock, Stone Cold, 17:55. And Lesnar Angle, 21 minutes and 8 seconds. That's about an hour and 40 minutes of solid wrestling. But now I loved the Brock Lesnar Kurt Angle match.
Yep.
And kudos to Brock for, just about killing himself on that shooting star press and being able to finish the match, which I thought was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, lesser men would have been carted out on a stretcher, but, Hogan McMahon, what I didn't like about it is I thought that Hogan should have absolutely beat the living crap out of McMahon. McMahon's 58 years old, albeit, in very good shape. Hogan's like the GOAT. You should not have had that competitive of a match. I think, you just had, maybe he got a couple of shots in, but I think Hogan should have obliterated him. But, I'm not booking. But, I mean, very unsung card, very, very solid. I would say, it's right up there as far as great WrestleManias.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. The Hogan, Vince Hogan should not have been competitive. Without Vince doing some really underhanded things. And, he would later in the match, but Hogan should have just dominated from the get-go for a while. I mean, it was still better than Brett Vince. But that's another story for another show. Doc, your thoughts on WrestleMania 19.
Man, I tell you, I was really looking forward to this one. There was a lot of good, solid build to this WrestleMania. This was when I was able to start affording to actually go to the shows. So I got to see The Rock come to Arco and sing his song about how Sacramento sucks. And it does. That's a NorCal guy. Sacramento sucks. Very disappointed that Booker T did not win. back then I could watch WWE and pretty accurately predict who was going to go over. And I was, if I had to put money on this one, I would have lost a poop ton of money. But one of the ones I was really looking forward to, aside from the Hogan McMahon one, was Lesnar and Angle, because you had this Olympic level amateur wrestler with the amateur background, and Brock Lesnar, an NCAA champion. Both these guys, amazing technical wrestlers. And so I know the shooting star botch overshadows the match a lot. And it gets brought up in conversation. But there was a lot of great near falls, a lot of really solid technical wrestling in this match. So that match is still a highlight for me. Hogan versus McMahon, yeah, you would have expected Hogan to just dominate the match, but I really popped for Piper coming back. I'm a Roddy Piper guy, and even though he wasn't in the best shape because he had come out of surgery, it was great to see Roddy Piper again and reignite that feud from way back in WrestleMania 1, which was when I started watching. So I'm like a 6-7-year-old kid again going, oh my gosh, it's Hogan and Piper. And again, Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho, what can you say about two of the best work rate guys in the business going toe to toe? The story with that, Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels, you were my hero. I patterned myself after you. So getting to see that clash, what a great story that was.
All right. Very good, guys. We're going to have to keep rolling. I'm going to shut up for the most part, and which I'm sure most people are okay with. And let's jump into WrestleMania 20. We get to go back to where it all began, Madison Square Garden. WrestleMania 20 featuring the main event of Chris Benoit versus Triple H versus Shawn Michaels. We also have Kurt Angle versus Eddie Guerrero. The Undertaker returns to being the dead man with his match once again against Kane, also bringing back Paul Bearer. There was a lot of fun stuff here. We also had some Evolution versus Rock and Sock Connection. So, guys, let's start with Chris. Let's start with you. Go ahead and tell us your thoughts on WrestleMania 20 and what makes this must-see.
Well, there, as you just said it, Pat, you said a lot of the matches there for this decent card. 20 years in the making, right? Back at MSG, where, in my opinion, it should be every 10-year anniversary, but I guess the stadiums is what they want, and it's all about money, as we know today.
Right.
But I'm that old school guy. But we saw John Cena taking the U.S. title over a Big Show in a decent match, starting to have that Cena come out and be on the scene in the WWE. We had could have been better Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar match, and Austin, the referee, played into that and his theatrics. And like you said, the title matches, Guerrero retained, Benoit beat Triple H and Shawn Michaels there. And of course, Undertaker and the build-up with Kane again, and all the theatrics and pyrotechnics for that match in MSG made the show.
Very good. Yeah. I how dare you remind me that Brock Goldberg existed then? That was rough. I mean, it had a couple cool moments in it, like when when Goldberg pressed Brock and then slammed. I mean, that was impressive. But the match itself, I mean, you had two guys that were on their way out. The crowd had turned on them. The only thing they liked about that was the ending when Austin gave both of them a stunner. That was it. Otherwise, the crowd crapped on them the whole night. All right, Benny, your thoughts, WrestleMania 20, and what makes this must-see?
I liked it. I liked Eddie and Kurt Angle. I thought that was a very good match. And then I really loved that emotional moment after Benoit won the championship. And now you got the two guys from WCW ruling the wrestling world.
Right. Yeah, and it's it sucks that it's hard to go back and watch it and remember how good that actually felt though. When Benoit won. How good it felt when those two embraced in the ranks, and because now you look back and it's just it's tainted, and it will always be tainted. But it was great that I was alive to watch it live when it happened and experience what that actually felt like. Doc, your turn. Give me your thoughts. WrestleMania 20. What makes this worth watching?
Again, just to echo everyone's sentiments, Eddie winning, Benoit winning. A few months before this, they had been at Arco, and after the show, I was at Applebee's, and there were a lot of the guys after the show there, and I was sitting at a table next to Benoit and Angle,
Wow.
Eddie and Benoit, and you could see that these guys were actually really close best friends. They signed my program. And so for me, it was an emotional moment to see these two best friends raising the belts high at the end of the show, the confetti coming down, little tear in the old Diamond Dock. It's so sad that tainted by so much tragedy that would happen later. The kind of sad that the fans took over that Brock Goldberg match, because I was looking forward to that match.
Yeah.
I was not reading the dirt sheet, so I didn't know that both of these guys were on their way out. And I was looking forward to a good match, and I think the crowd kind of lessened what it could have been. The Cruiserweight Open. A lot of fun getting to watch those cruiserweights all compete and do something that you hadn't seen in a long time since the WCW days.
Right.
John Cena kind of getting himself over with, getting the Big Show up for the FU, which I was like, there's no way. He can't do it. Yeah, John Cena did it. Randy Orton really kind of showcased his ability in this Mania when Evolution went up against the Rock and Sock Connection. I think Randy Orton was a little bit of a standout in that match.
Yep.
Overall, just a really great WrestleMania. Even the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match with Too Cool, Scotty 2 Hotty, and Rikishi. I still like to see, the little dance and the worm. As stupid as that stuff is, as a fan, I really enjoy that stuff.
All right, very good. I think because we're running short on time, and I know it looks like Benny and I are going to have to hop back on Zoom here in just a little bit. So let's start closing out this week's show. But before we do, I want to go through each guy here, give you an opportunity to plug your stuff and what you got coming. We're going to start with Chris DiCarlo. Sir, let all of our fans know where they can find you and your shows.
Yes, the Twisted Turnbuckle podcast, as you see behind me and on our T-shirts, is Thursday nights live at 7:05 Eastern Time on Benny's YouTube channel there, the Player Entertainment Network. And this Thursday night, we are having former commentator from USWA, GWF, Mr. Craig Johnson, former referee, Mr. James Beard, and of course, historian, great friend, Mr. Tony Richards. So we look forward to that this week.
Very good. All right, now Benny, the Jet Scala, tell us all about what you got coming up.
Yes, sir. Like I said, tomorrow at 3 o'clock, Benny the Jet. Tomorrow, it's called The Second Time Around. So it's going to be epic covers of great songs. And then on Monday night, the True Crime with the Bad Girl of Play and Dangerous Dave, which will be at 6 o'clock. And then on Wednesday, When It Was Real with Nikita Brezhnikov at 7:30.
All right, Doc, take it away.
Yes, sir. Today at noon, a new episode of PCW Limelight. It's the 30-man over the top, last man standing battle royal, with the winner going on to face the new PCW champion, Rick Luxury, at extreme measures. And the stakes have never been higher. Bad news, Blakesley, the 6'10", 500-pound monster, lost last week, and so he has entered into the Rumble. At what number, we don't know. Zach Reeb has shenanigans brewing in the background. Everyone in PCW gets involved in this bad boy. The refs get their chance to shine. Every single wrestler gets their chance to shine. Heck, even the commentary guy, the executive producer of operations, Dr. Haywood, gets his chance to shine. You do not want to miss this. A lot of surprises, some returns, some wild stuff happening on this one. And easily our biggest, loudest crowd that PCW has seen in the Diamond era. Folks, don't miss it. 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Saturdays are for pro wrestling, and pro wrestling in NorCal is PCW.
Hey, guys. I want to thank Doc for last week writing a novel for me to read while on the air to plug PCW. So, guys, before we say goodbye, before we check out for today, I want to remind you guys once again, please head on over to Amazon right now. Get your copy of Positively Pat Sims' first book, Vengeance. It is available in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover editions. And, again, also, don't forget to get on over and get Doc's book, Heroes of Virtue, this coloring book, a Catholic coloring book of saints. It's really, really cool. Some of the pictures in here are so awesome, and looking forward to that. Like, I almost don't want to color it though, because
color it. You gotta color it.
Yeah, but it's I don't know. Like, I might need to get another one so that I can keep this. So I can keep this one
even better.
You
right?
know, yeah, good, better for Doc.
I've got your book, baby. Great read. Vengeance was a fun read. Reminds me of an old 80s action movie, kind of like Commando mixed with Ghost Rider. I mean, some supernatural elements. Awesome stuff. Very good book.
Thank you so much. All right, guys. And then also, lastly, make sure you head on over to positivelypatsims.printful.me, where you can pick up stuff like these Positively Pat Sims playing cards. You can pick up stuff like this Positively Pat Sims yoga mat, which is awesome. And then you can also pick up something like this adorable little guy right here, our Positively Pat Sims show bear, our teddy bear. Isn't he adorable? Isn't he just, he's just adorable. Look at him. Look at his little punum. Yes. So make sure you're heading over there today. And we're going to be getting this weekend our game night hats, our Tuesday night show game night. Game night hats are going to be available on there. Now that I've got mine, I see that it's great. It's awesome. It looks great. It feels great. Everything about it is good. We're going to put it up on the website. Lastly, our Warriors Unleashed show. Nothing's changing about it except we are rebranding its logo, which will be this week. So all of our Warriors Unleashed show merchandise is going to be taken down from the store as of tomorrow. So if you want to get some collector's items and get some old school Warriors Unleashed logo stuff, you can do so now. But tomorrow, it'll all be gone. And the new stuff will start making its way back in next week as we introduce and unveil our brand new logo that we've pretty much got a near unanimous vote for which one we're going with. I made several, and one has definitely been the standout. So, guys, stay tuned for all of that. Apart from that, I want to thank all of my guests this morning. I want to thank Chris DiCarlo of the Twisted Turnbuckle podcast. I want to thank Benny, the Jet Scala, the living legend. And I want to thank the Diamond Standard, the voice of PCW, Doc Haywood, who reminds everybody that Zach Reeb smells like food stamps. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here on the Positively Pat Sims Show. Remember to take it easy. And if it's easy, take it twice. So long, everybody. We'll see you next week right here. Same Pat time, same Pat channel on the I screwed that up. For the Positively Pat Sims Show on WANT Radio and live streaming on YouTube. So long, everybody.
The lights are dim, but the room still hums with the after